Computer. Well, happy weekend. Welcome to the last weekend of February 2022. And I thought we'd do a Conspiracy Keepers, you guys. Backlash is out today. That's okay. He had something adult to do, and we have something fun to do, and that's talk together on the internet.
Right.
I like the story of putting him with the convoy of truckers better.
Oh my gosh. Are you going to go?
Let's cross our fingers. I'm hoping on it, but it'd be funny to say that we stuck him in an 18-wheeler and he's on his way to DC. But I jumped ahead. Backlash is not on assignment. It's Friday. It's busy. It's the end of the month, and it is what it is.
He's an adult. Yeah, he's got stuff to do. I'm just thinking, and he has a family and everything, and us three are kind of just hanging out. But I thought we better touch on the Ukrainian situation, Russian invasion of Ukraine. Of course, that's top of mind for everybody. And I know you've been really watching the news, Scooter, and reporting on your YouTube channel and on your Podbean each evening at 11, right?
That is correct. But can we go back to December and January when we did the Deadpool and I brought up Belarus, the Ukraine,
oh yes,
and the launch window of the Olympics, how many hours before all this would start? Joe?
Yes, okay.
Jackie, how can the media get on this box at night and look the world in a straight eye and go, in recent weeks, suggesting like 2 or 3, when this was too easily predictable before we made our Deadpool votes?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, right.
And for me to say that Russia's going to move in the 24 to 96-hour launch window after the Olympic flame goes out, there's going to be a push from Belarus to the south to, and I'm tired of these metrosexual lisping broadcasters, it's Kiev. You want to keep changing the name of countries, then start with the United Wussies of America.
How are they saying it?
Kiev.
Who said that? Oh my Lord, we've got
90% of the broadcasters are calling Kiev Kiev.
Oh, Kiev is Kiev. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So they've come in from the north. The Russians re-seized Chernobyl for obvious reasons. Everyone seems to question, by the way, Chernobyl reactor still runs, all right? And the fact that one of them exploded and they had to but 50% of the power comes from nuclear energy in the Ukraine. The Ukraine has no nuclear weapons. They had to give them up years ago. Here, give up your weapons and we promise we'll defend you. But meanwhile, the Belarusian push to the south, taking Kiev, hold the waterway down to the Sea of Azov and the Black Sea, and come in with a pincher move. And that's exactly what they did. Now, meanwhile, it sucks to be me because in military school, in elementary school, they were teaching us this nonsense. This is a giant, and I actually driving back today from Denver to get up here to do this. And I'm not going to out the radio guy because I know him. It's just, I got to call him and slap him over the phone. That somehow they're equating anyone who wants to theorize or discuss this. This isn't a game of risk. Yes, it is.
It's exactly that.
And let me say this, and then I'm going to be silent until asked to speak. This will be a new format.
Okay.
Joe, I only touched on it with you the other day when we spoke, and I really had to think about it in the delivery of it, how I deliver it, how I come across. I joked, you and I had a little tate-a-tate off there, but if we were kids and we were out in the parking lot and we were duking it out, I don't thank everyone for coming here today to watch the bully kick my ass. I am not here today to condemn. The bully's beating me up. Someone send the guy to the principal's office to condemn this. And let's rally for support and watch the beating. When do the ribbons come back? Oh, I'm sorry. The Empire State Building is now adorned in blue and yellow in show of solidarity for the people of you. What the is going on?
Wow. Wow.
Well,
Wow.
who wants to start?
Go ahead, Joe.
Okay.
You're on.
Okay. This whole thing to me seems very bizarre. First of all, if you're going to invade a country, do you like warn the world about it like weeks and weeks in advance? I mean, this whole thing just reeks of a setup to me. Now, I'm not saying they didn't really invade. They actually are doing it, but these world leaders are all working together on this. I'm convinced. I'm convinced that the leader, the Putin, the leader in Ukraine, on all these people that are coming against him saying, oh, no, they shouldn't have done this. I'm not buying it. These people are all working together because if you think about it, this war is more of a consolidation than a real war, okay? Because we know what they want. They want a one world government. They want a one world order. So the Ukraine and Russia have a long history of being together. This would be like the United States invading New York. It's like, we have a long history together. These people are together on this. I'm absolutely convinced of it. So they just want to consolidate the assets. And Ukraine, I'm telling you, they have a lot of assets. I'm looking at this list, and they're the top 10 in the world, and I'm looking at least 40 of exports. I mean, Ukraine has a lot of interest in world events. So
I believe I tried to bring that up in a previous episode that literally the Ukraine is for America, because I did the map. It's the breadbasket for not only the people of the Eastern Europe, but to much of the West. We think of Nebraska and Kansas. You got no idea how big this country is. Most people in America still can't find this on a map unless they report and tell you where it is.
Right.
Yeah. I agree.
Oh, go ahead, Jackie.
The assets are so many, and if you look at the economy of Russia and the GDP, it is super low. It's anemic. It is so low. The GDP is lower per capita than, well, that's what GDP means, than Panama.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Now think about what Ukraine has. Number one in the world in mercury, lead.
Right.
So many natural resources. But what bugs me about the whole thing is before any of this became super serious, there was a meeting between Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin. In my opinion, and to the conspiracy mind in me, they were sitting down ironing out the details on what to tell who and when it was going to happen. And everybody had to sign off on it. Yep, America's in. Yep, we love your plan. We love your plan.
Right. That's exactly right. Absolutely.
Because why did they have a meeting and then nothing happened? And Biden has not referred to that in any of his talks. And speaking of his talks, oh my goodness sakes, he gets lost after about the first couple of sentences. And you can tell that he's reading the hootenanny, reading the the deal that...
According breaking news, Friday, of course, is take out the trash news and get the lid on it. Their White House is trying to stay ahead of the Supreme Court nomination. However, the White House doctor, the Daily Wire is reporting that the White House physician has requested a cognitive test of President Biden.
Thank goodness.
Now, I don't know if that's
we know
true or not. I know that that's what's trying to permeate the cycle in regards to the White House's announcement of again, we are looking at the largest military incursion since World War II, and the White House wants to tout the next first black whatever, who cares? That is how disassociated the entire White House is and Congress with what's going on. And I still want Jackie's reaction from my temper tantrum of thanking the international community and being here in condemnation. And I'm telling you, I'm going to slap whoever I see in Denver on Monday walking around with this sporting their little blue and yellow ribbon. I can see them coming. And that is and lest we forget, we'd like to have donations sent to the American Red Cross and Catholic Charities. You are effing raising money?
For a war.
No,
Right.
for the refugees.
Mhm.
To come to this country or sending
Yeah,
the money
old
over
Governor
there?
Polis had to have a press conference yesterday and inform the people of Colorado that he'll be imposing sanctions. Kind of F-tard are you?
Okay. All right.
He's running for president,
In
and he's
2024.
doing this and pandering.
Yeah.
Well, we do have to have our first gay president pretty soon.
Mhm.
What was Obama?
Don't now listen.
Yeah. And
Uh,
also keep in mind, because the Ukraine is such a huge exporter of all these things from all over the world, we know what they want to do. We know they want to create shortages. They want to do this on purpose. They tried it with the truckers. This is all part of their plan. So they've got the perfect setup right now. Oh, there's going to be all these shortages because of what Russia has done to the Ukraine. Which, by the way, you were talking about, Jackie, it was all planned.
Yeah.
This is all planned. This is not just happening organically. So once people understand that, you can back engineer it and see what they're trying to do. They want to create shortages. Remember, they're trying to collapse the world's economy. They tried to do it with the virus. They tried to collapse all the independent businesses. They want them all eaten up by the big corporations. So they want to crash the economy to establish their reset. They even said, oh, this is the Great Reset. This is what they're talking about. It's all a big script. It's all a big plan.
It is. I feel like it is, and it's going according to the script.
Yes,
That's why
exactly.
once you see the end result, you see the little pieces falling into place. And
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm not crazy, and none of my friends are crazy, and nobody on here is crazy. None of the millions and millions and millions of people worldwide are crazy when we say we can see what's happening.
That's right. All these things are related. The truckers, the virus, the vaccine. Oh, I can't say that. The jab. I mean, the war. It's all created by the same people. And I know this is kind of hard for people to believe, but because these families have been in control for a long time of what's going on right now. I will go on the record as saying every significant event, any worldwide event that has happened in your lifetime, has been orchestrated by the same group of people. I know that's a big statement, but logically you look at it and that's what we're seeing.
Yes, Scooter, what you got?
Joe, Jackie was talking about once we've seen it, we can look back. So since our last episode, we were talking about numerology because it was palindrome day.
Yep.
Is there any significance? Because I was doing the soft. When we add all the numbers, I was getting 11 or 13. But I'm asking you, in relation to the headlines of the news and numerology, did anything pop out at you since we spoke last?
Well, not since we spoke last, but remember what these people do, and this is what we were talking about on our last show. Even if something didn't happen on, like, say, 2/22 per se, that was world shaking, these people are performing their rituals on those days. Okay, so when they perform their rituals and they get their plans together, and then they might do it a few days later. So it said, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, you have to understand the timeline is from what they're doing and what their plans are and when their rituals take place. So that's the timeline. So 2/22 actually made sense. And we saw that all over the internet. People were talking about that and all the numbers and what that means. The first time we're going to see this, the last time we're going to see it in a while. These people are making their plans on those certain days that have multiples of 11. That's what they love.
Joe, I have breaking news.
Go for it.
This is unbelievable. This is breaking news.
Okay.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are showing their support for the people of Ukraine.
Oh.
They just tweeted.
No doubt. No doubt.
Oh, Scooter.
Thank God. We know where they stand.
It's a blanket.
They support. They're Ukraine strong.
Yeah.
It's a blanket distraction. You just have to see it for what it is.
Right.
Thank God COVID is handled so we can have media time to cover this.
Yeah, I know COVID is over, except now they're coming out with a better, stronger thingy.
Oh,
The
variant.
CDC is announcing new
Yeah.
guidelines, and guess what? You might need a fourth one this winter.
Oh boy.
Of course, yeah. And by the way, just to follow up on that point, didn't in the beginning they tell us that the kids don't have anything to worry about? Wasn't that the big thing? It's like,
Of
oh no, your kids are
course.
okay. Oh, but all of a sudden now, the kids are coming into play. Now they're developing a jab just for them. I'm thinking, well, no, wait a minute. I thought the rules were the kids were okay. They're constantly changing the rules, constantly. Oh, it's just aggravating.
What
It
makes
is
me
just
I
so
would like
aggravating.
to clarify that I didn't mean to suggest that former President Obama was the first gay president,
oh
because
dear.
we still have the problems with George Bush and the
Oh.
male prostitutes.
Oh, of course.
Oh my goodness.
God. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. This.
Very interesting.
But one
Yeah.
hooker at a time, all right?
Yeah.
Like, I can only track one hooker at a time.
One pants around the ankle at a time.
That's right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So.
There's
Yeah, so I
nothing
just-
wrong with gay. Okay, can I just retract?
No, I'm just bringing up that,
Yeah.
again, Obama wasn't the first, but there was all the allegations against GW.
Oh yeah, and
No, I'm
Victor
just
Ash.
saying, gay people we love. There's nothing wrong with gay people. Almost every family has a gay person in it. I'm not saying anything against gay people, gay pride, anything. I'm just saying that that the next splash, since we've had a black president now, it wouldn't be out of
Has to be.
Yeah, it wouldn't be out of the playbook to have a gay president.
Sure.
We
Because
have
you
to
get
go
2
down
for
the
1.
list. Yeah.
You get the first gay president, and then you get the gay first husband.
Oh, first we have to have those,
And if they're interracial, you just checked every box in the column. You're a hero and a champion of victory for a legacy to come.
May I just say,
God forbid we get the best person instead of just the next column we got to check off so that we can prove our social worthiness.
Agreed. But I went to a show last night, and in the audience was a biracial gay male couple in front of me. And it was they were so cute. Can I just say?
They were so cute.
Taking their little selfies together, and then on the front of the one guy's phone is a little caricature of the two of them. And I mean, delightful. We've got nothing against gays. Truly, we don't.
But the agenda is out there, like they hide
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the thing we're talking about. It's like, okay,
But it's
they're
not
going to
hidden.
acknowledge it. Yeah.
It's not hidden, is it, Joe?
No, not now. But we're just talking about George Bush and like that. It was he wasn't acknowledging it.
Correct.
So
right.
we had to kind of like
fine. Yeah.
Even though the Washington Post break that story originally, because that wasn't a National Enquirer story.
It wasn't.
Right. Yeah, I think so. And I think they come out with his significant other. Is that what I would call him? Victor Ash. He was like the mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee, and then he went over to Europe, and they had long been linked together. Yeah, we talked about that before, way back in the day.
And I wasn't joking. So are either of you on the Twitter?
Listen, I closed my Twitter account a long time ago because I was watching too much from local news, and it's just infuriating because they say Kev instead of Kiev.
Oh, right. I know.
Talk about the silencing of any opposition. Twitter is now announcing that they have a special group that are monitoring Twitter accounts that may be posting misinformation.
I see.
Of
So if
course.
it doesn't go with what's on the narrative of TV, it'll be automatically blanketed now as misinformation and be removed.
No, it already is. I mean, people are proud of saying, I'm out of Facebook jail. I'm out of Facebook jail.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Instead of, why aren't we marching? We need a trucker convoy to San Jose and go through,
Well, yeah, and the thing is, I had a Facebook account that was attached to my website. They just shut down completely. I had a lot of subscribers. I had over 5,000 subscribers. They just shut it down. Said that it violates community standards, which is the thing that's so ironic about this, because every time we have this war, it's about protecting democracy. Well, we don't have democracy here. All we have is censorship. We have voice of any dissenting opinion is shut down. I mean, we don't have a democracy here. I mean, we're losing it every single day and every single week.
You guys, I feel so naive when I hear things like that, or I see more proof that we really don't have, freedom of speech.
No,
America is
a
constitutional republic The Ukraine isn't a democracy. It's been living under a dictatorship. However, they are wanting Western. They want blue jeans. They want democracy. They want transgender, gay rights, elderly rights, women's rights. They're not a democracy. And every member of Congress on television saying this is a threat to our democracy is full of crap.
Well, they don't mean it.
The word democracy is a mob, 5149. And that's what they want. They want democracy, a mob that they control to steamroll over everybody else.
Well, they want the natural resources, and they want, right? Russia wants
That's
to
right.
Because of the money.
Pit us against them, and then bring in China to help, so that China and Russia are affiliated. And then
China's already in. No sooner was Vladimir Putin exercising his pincer move, but the Chinese decided to put a couple of fighters up, and their GPS failed, and they were in Taiwanese airspace. Well, you know, it's not a big deal. Excuse me? The Raptors are now testing the fences in Taiwan, which means China is just ready to move. This wasn't a military exercise, and we had a little problem. No. While the Soviets, and I'm not gonna say, I'll direct Russians to the people of Russia, Mother Russia, because that's correct, Mother Russia. But it's the Soviet Empire and the Soviet Union. And as I made comment to Jackie off air driving up, and maybe we do go this direction, Vladimir Putin's going to get back what he wanted, because I told you, Pakistan, Turkestan, Afghanistan, Kurdistan, Hungary, Poland.
Oh my goodness.
And Hungary, Poland, there's one other in play. Well, that's NATO, that's Article 5, but he then gets back his Iron Curtain. But my comment to Jackie was the Soviet mentality of now hasn't changed from the 30s. Forgive my Latin. It just got cock-blocked by the Nazis. But the Soviets want the Mother Russia. The Soviets want global domination. That's what they wanted then, and nothing has changed. And how do I know that? ABC News interviewed the granddaughter of Nikita Khrushchev.
Oh, wow.
And what her thoughts and opinions were on how Vladimir Putin was acting. A, you're a grandkid of Khrushchev. Shut up. You have no right to speak. Under Khrushchev's reign and his country, let alone his house, you were a prop. You weren't this isn't like Churchill and smoking cigars and bouncing on a knee. You were a prop. And now you're some foreign policy expert because you're the granddaughter of?
No, they propped her up. Come on.
Of course they did. Yeah, of course they did.
Everything is a prop up.
Yeah. Everything is a script. I mean, they want, obviously, and they even said this. If you look at what they said, they don't like private property. They don't like any kind of ownership from anybody else besides themselves. And they will, and basically their motto is, you will own nothing and be happy. You're going to be a slave is really what they want as part of this great reset, this new world order. That's what they want. They want you to own nothing.
Well,
and you know, I hate to say it, but so far they're getting away with it.
Certainly that plays to the ancient wisdom and myth theory that, you know, it's just one more time of, can we break the slavery as human beings? Are we going to break through, recognizing exactly how powerful we are in the universe and exactly what our powers are, and that we're limited to this little view of our humanness for this one lifetime?
You, without a lot of detail, but you were talking about Michael Jackson, the event last night, the Michael Jackson thing, and not about me in your head, but the comment you made about with the last time we were talking on air, or on the show, I mean, of 2222, but the fact of 2022 and the year, and then that's when I made the comment, because it just reminded me of what I said was the collective energy of consciousness, or the universe of energy of consciousness. I was wondering if you could give us more of, I guess, the metaphysical side, or because I asked Joe about the numerology side, but in what you were saying there about that energy,
Sure.
massive radical change and that energy, but the energy that may or may not come out of it.
Oh, it's coming out. More and more people are waking up every day. And that's what they mean by an awakening, is if you see what we're talking about and you see that you are not this little teeny dot. Okay, you are part of a cosmos. We're all part metaphysically. We're all, not metaphysically, literally, we're all a little teeny bit of one another. And we have the power to, through our thoughts and our intentions, to change how things happen. They say if you have 15,000 people meditating on one subject at one time, you can change the outcome. And meaning you can change the outcome for yourself just by thinking about it. Now, can I give you a little example? This is kind of off topic, and I'll come back to the Michael Jackson show for you. But my oldest brother, didn't want to go to Vietnam. And I'm the youngest, way youngest of a lot of children. And so he put himself in the bed. And he didn't want any interruptions or anything. And he said, don't come into my room, anything like that. And he laid there and breathed as slowly as he could and took the smallest amount of food he could. I don't know for what period of time. So what they went to test him for his physical,
Anemic.
They would have low blood pressure, low, all that stuff. He talked himself into it, see?
Right.
We can do that for our own successes. And last night I was listening to your show, Scooter, when I was driving around today, and you were saying, boy, if I could turn back time, or if I could go back in history and give Vladimir Putin a hug.
I didn't say that. That's what the libs are saying.
Oh, really? Because
that's on Twitter.
It is. That's hilarious.
He said if they could go back in time, Vladimir Putin needed a hug.
Oh, and you're the one who said that you wouldn't. Okay, all right, I got it.
Thinking about a time machine, we wanted to go back and do something worse.
Yeah, you didn't want to give him the slap on the bum to make him breathe. I got it. Okay, but the point is, even people like Hitler and Khrushchev and any of the naughties, throughout our part of human history, they teach us a lesson as a collective. Putin is here to teach us a lesson. If they were to do a test on his consciousness, he would score 100% in his life purpose, because he came here to teach us a lesson. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah.
I do. And whether it's Hitler or any other of them, they needed to come here to teach us this lesson. We wanted to come here during this time. You know how the Chinese proverb, it's not a nice thing either. It's not a compliment. May you live in interesting times. Okay. That is not, I hope you come into life and have a great time. No, this is the most interesting time that there has been for a human collective. And we have a chance to change the way we as human beings react. Okay. If Jesus said, put the love in it, right? And I'm not talking about Jesus, put your hands on the radio, feel the power. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying he was a metaphysical being like we all are. And that was his last incarnation. He came here to, to tell us it's love, people. Why do you think they strung him up? Come on.
Yeah, one thing I want to add to that, and tell me what you think of this, Jackie. I've always thought of the same thing as far as voting goes. I don't vote. And people say, oh, you don't vote? That's how you lose your freedoms. I think it's just the opposite. That you lose your freedoms by voting, because exactly what you're talking about is a transference of power.
Yeah.
We have the power as the people. When you go to the polls and cast your vote, you are transferring your power to that 1%.
Well,
so you're actually giving your power away. You're not protecting your freedom by voting.
Well, remember, people who didn't want President Trump to get reelected, the slogan was anyone but him. And guess what we got?
Right.
Anyone.
And that's why they push voting so much, both sides, because they don't care who you vote for. Just the fact that you vote, because they want that transference of power. They want the transference from the people to them. So every time you go to the polls and you push that lever, that's a transference of power. You're giving away your right. You're giving your power to these people over you. Yeah. And like you were saying, we have the power. We have the numbers.
We do. But we
voluntarily give it away.
Yeah, we do have the power. Okay, so back to the story about the about the concert I saw
Go
last night,
ahead.
which was it's the big Michael Jackson show. They say he's the number one Michael Jackson, person. And he's really good. I mean, it's a live band and dancers. And I mean, for over an hour, they just do hit after hit after hit. And he has every single move. And for me, I'm the kind of stubborn a-hole who I can see through it. I'm like, well, he doesn't look like Michael Jackson because of this. He doesn't look like Michael Jackson because of that. He doesn't exactly move the same. His shoes aren't right or whatever it is. But boy, eventually I can really see how this guy is tapping into the energy that performer used to put into the universe. And that's the song, which one is it now? I'm talking like mad, where he ends, make that change.
Oh yeah, I know what you're
Human,
talking about. Yeah.
is it
Man in the Mirror?
Man in the Mirror,
Yeah.
thank you. But all of them, and they had the words going up there and people were, the whole thing. And really, those are such powerful messages that we can make changes as people. And I don't know, Scooter had said something to me the other day. He goes, whatever it is you do going forward with your career, make sure that you don't let anybody underpay you, or don't undersell yourself. Don't sell yourself short, because exactly that. The possibilities are endless in what we can do if we really want to. If we see that the world is not happening to us, the world is here and we're happening to it.
Right. That's right.
We're that powerful. We are happening to it. We're putting our imprint into the Akashic record.
And it's scaring them.
Yeah, well, it is for you.
No, I mean to the establishment.
Oh, I'm teasing you.
Because without divulging the conversation, it was about bottom feeding. And the reality, and Joe, you saw it firsthand. Jackie will share that experience. But being in the talk studio, you're alone. You got to run the board. You got to do the call screening. You got to set up your own guests. You got to do all that. No, in radio, you had a board op. You had a producer. You had a call screener. But so the executives can keep making their quarterly bonuses over the years, we've downsized all of that. Now you've got brain dead monkeys who, because they failed out of the Apollo program, because we don't have one anymore, that all they do is drop, drag, and do, that's their job. And this arrogance of, that's not my job. Well, they make it your job. You do the job of 3 people and you're not getting 3 paychecks. You're a bottom field. This will be great exposure to lead us. We've all heard that over 30 years of our lives enslaved to this cruel mistress. And this new game of they all want us to be on social media and push the site and push this and push that. Great. Well, I'm only here 5 hours a day. There are 19 other hours a day. And unless you're going to pay me for that, have a nice day. Because what I do for you is this. But unless you're going to manage me when you're not, go fly a kite. Yeah. Because I'm going to go fly a kite and figure out how I can pay somebody to let me do that.
Well, the bug of entrepreneurship really bit me with something that Scooter had said to me about this very subject. And he didn't mean it to be that way. But then I'm sitting there watching the, Michael Jackson thing, and you get relaxed and you get the vibe of how great that, music was in that time in history. And I don't care what you think about Michael Jackson, those songs will impact us forever and ever.
And they take us right back to that minute.
Oh, I mean, they're so intertwined into the fabric of our being, and talk about impacting the Akashic record. I mean, oh my gosh, the songs. And so I don't know. I just had an epiphany. I'm like, I'm not going to undersell myself. Because before, I'd be waiting for another radio job, or, you know what I'm saying? And
right.
Take whatever they give me. I've never had an agent. I've always negotiated my own contracts and things like this. But I've always gotten just to hear, like fly below the radar type of a talent in my profession. And I've gone a long ways doing that. But, I want to make my own money. I want to talk about so many things out there to the universe. I want to spread the goodness of what I've learned in the last couple of years. I want to tell people what's really happening. I want to, uplift other people. I want to, you know what I mean? Make things sparkle, but not only talking about, the songs or Adele or this or that. I want to talk about lots of other things.
Well, I think we talked a little bit about that earlier today, Jackie. We're taught from the time little kids, time we just go into kindergarten, we go to school, we're taught to sit down, shut up, and don't question authority. All those coloring books, I would color inside the lines. You don't color outside the lines. I mean, that's
You get
psychologically
right.
conditioning you to think that, you're so limited in your scope, and that's intentional. I
Mm-hmm.
think these schools are indoctrination systems, especially public schools, to where you are supposed to sit still, don't speak out against authority because they know and you don't, And if, by the way, if you really do a good job and digest everything that the teachers tell you and you do good on the test, you get an A. If you think on your own and you question anybody, oh, no, 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 that's not allowed. So we're taught from the time we're little, just like you were talking about, to not expand, to not be part of everybody, to be just in your little world.
Yep.
Don't color outside the lines.
Don't color outside the lines. And
yeah,
when it comes to our health and all that stuff, we're taught to go to a doctor if we don't feel good, instead of listen to the perfection of our body. And if we have an infection, there's something happening, and it's happening for a reason. It's just
a
traditional.
Doctor will just mask it with painkillers,
Sure.
they don't treat the problem; they just treat the symptom.
Well, I've really gotten into the theory of traditional Chinese medicine. I've lived in San Francisco, and I went to a great acupuncturist in Denver for a while, Dr. Nan. He's since retired. A true genius. I probably talked about him before to you guys, but anyways, there's so many other ways to attack it. We're taught that we can't have a headache, we got to take a pill. Well, maybe the headache is telling you that there's stress.
Exactly.
You've eaten something that doesn't go well with your system. Or all of a sudden one day you have gosh, my nose is itching, I think I'll take an allergy tablet. Well, maybe you ate something the night before that you're allergic to.
Right.
Or let alone the stuff that's coming out of the sky. Let's not get me started on that. But
right.
But I just think that it's really important that we talk about these things. And anyway, I know I'm getting off of the seriousness of the hard news there.
I want to ask a question about your Shenmen comment about acupuncture, but when you were talking about the energy in the universe and where your mind, you said my mind going to the concert and you could see bubble. So the first three questions. First, when we were kids, we didn't grow up together, but if you saw a magician for the first time, were you in disbelief and believed it was magic? Or I know how he did that, because I wasn't it's in his hand. I figured out the sawing the girl in half and bending I could figure that out in my head as a young age, hence a love for magic. But I knew wait a minute, it's a magician, it's a trick. So what I'm about to see, and maybe that's because I was led into the room being explained, this is a magician, and the days of Harry Blackstone and whatnot. But the energy of magic, and whether questioning it when you first saw it, and what you were talking about, now you got in the music.
Yep.
So Joe, on the mind control and the music, as much as we're brain dead to it from ignoring it, we still have that music that puts us in those specific moments in time where we were. And then post, because Jackie, you were talking about for Vladimir Putin and his purpose, he's here for what he's doing 100% his purpose in life.
He is.
Did you see that story about the scientists and researchers? They had a brain all wired up and they caught the flash at the moment of death.
No.
Oh, God. Okay. And again, it got buried in this week's headlines. We'll talk about that off air. And on another show, I'll send you the notes and I'll send them to you, Joe. So my two questions were about the music. Have we kind of been desensitized? Because we know, Joe, we talked about backmasking and all of that. We haven't with Jackie, but about music being a specific use in mind control. Positive music and negative music. But are we immune, or is that even part of our programming? And then the other was about questioning at a young age.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't grow up together, were you of similar minds like me of that's a trick, and how do you do that card trick? How do you do that coin trick? How do you?
Yeah. Okay, I'm a person with a devil
Good.
on one shoulder and an angel on the other.
Mhm.
Was that in what movie was that in?
Animal House.
Animal House. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
I've always known I'm being tricked. I
Mm.
have that ability to know when I'm being tricked,
Okay.
but I'm still naive enough to enjoy the trick.
Mm.
Like I'm naive enough to enjoy the magic trick. But when it's terrible, a terrible magic trick, I'm like, this is a
Mhm.
terrible magic trick.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
And I
would
do
agree
think-
that I can appreciate the
Yeah.
magic for being a trick.
Yeah. Now
Well,
I have a friend who can do the dollar, with his finger, starts on one finger and goes, and then he pulls it out of
Mhm.
your ear. And
Mhm.
the first time he did that to me, I was an adult. I was like 28 years old. And I was like, that is very good. That's a good trick. But,
Well,
but
I think
know-
you just. Oh, go ahead.
but it's magic. And I do think anything can be used against our brains in programming.
It can. As a matter
Yeah.
of fact, I was so interested in that at one time because I was wondering, not only what's going on right now in the world, but Germany, and like, how can so many people be fooled? I said, how can this be? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
How about Americans? This is going to go down in history.
That's right.
We're the
Same.
new Atlanteans.
Exactly. Exactly. And when I started to do research on the human brain and how it works, it doesn't work on logic. I know that sounds like that's a strong statement. It doesn't work on logic. It works on pattern recognition. So the more you repeat something, the more your brain will say, "Oh, I've seen this before, therefore it must be true." Now, logic is something that it takes some work. It's like working out. Your brain
And
doesn't.
people on
It
Facebook
doesn't
will
go
know
right
what
to
Joe's
logic.
saying. They see the T. If you can read this and it's goofy letters and numbers and symbols, but it still spells it out, and your brain will recognize enough to be able to read it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why anything that has to do with mind control has to do with repeating patterns, because that's how your brain works. That's why they march in the military. Anytime that you have any kind of rhythmic repeating pattern, it can go in music, doesn't have to be for bad, but it could be for good. But your brain will start to lower its critical thinking and heighten your suggestibility anytime that you're in a repetitive system. That's why you hear things constantly, because the same people are controlling this whole thing with the virus right now. Everywhere you go, whether it be on the radio, whether it be in the grocery store, you hear these same patterns. Keep everybody safe, trust the science. And after a while, your brain will start to say, accept that as the truth, even though logically it doesn't make any sense, because pattern recognition and the people that are controlling us know exactly how the mind works. Go ahead.
Your video was stuck, so I didn't know if you're still talking.
No, I'm done.
So essentially, Joe, I'm not trying to be a child about it and childlike in thought, but we're just watching one big sleight of hand magic trick right now with the use of repetitive mind control in music, movies, and the news, even sitcoms now. You cannot spend Saturday night watching Saturday Night Live in suspended disbelief of Gilda Radner as a Girl Scout, or Richard Pryor as a priest, or Dan Aykroyd as the president. We can't suspend our disbelief. Again, making fun of it, not using it as a weapon of demonization. It's a comedy. It's a sketch bit. Relax, put your ideas aside for 3 minutes or 5 minutes and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then we'll be back at another commercial break and we'll try it again.
Well, that's how I felt about the tribute artist that I saw. At first I'm like, this is just not right. He should be wearing penny loafers and not jazz shoes. You know what I mean? I was picking every single bit of it apart. But boy, howdy, is that guy, he just brought the joy to it for me. And I feel that way when I see a tribute artist. That, it takes me a while to break me down from my critical, and I do mean being critical of performers until I get to the joy of it. And boy, by the end, the people were floating out of there. It's just like the love show from the Beatles. It's the music of the Beatles, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
But the Beatles aren't there.
Right.
There's another interpretive artistic performance happening, but it's the music that lifts you up, because it's what your brain does when you hear the songs. anyways, it was really fun, and it opened me up to other ideas. And right after the performance, me and my friend were leaving. I'm like, and we need to start this, and we need to. I'm going to get the, I'm going to get this website. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that. And she's like, well, we can sell that, and I know how to make that profitable. And we were just popping. But I think it has a lot to do with the 22.
Oh, interesting.
And see, and I had just equated to thinking out of the box instead of, here's what they're telling you, this is what we got to do, and you got to do, wait a minute, okay, out of the box. How come I can't just go do this? Why? Because, okay, I can have fun doing this, but if it's going to work, well, again, I may not be a millionaire, but the money will follow. Like the bill, I'll worry about that, but you can only do this.
You have to believe.
Which then back to the radio.
Yep.
Then back to the radio comment, because this should scare the hell out of anybody listening to this show in the United States or anywhere where U.S. transmitter reaches. The people who are on air have a very, very short reservation, not to diminish the indigenous people of North America. The reservation of what you can say, and the minute you're off the reservation, you are out that door. And it's not just the 7 dirty words.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not talking about this. You're not talking about that. And if you do, you're done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Then that should be to the world. Oh, well, and again, listen to my podcast. I'm not listening to your podcast. I'm listening to a re-recorded, re-aired show of what you already did. A podcast is you sitting on the patio having a cigar at the end of the day going, man, traffic on I-25 sucked today. Can't say that on, because they're as good. How many tire companies and oil companies and CDOT and everything? Well, then you as a broadcaster are only providing an illusion. For the limited time you're on the air, and the rest of the time, I don't know how they're doing it anymore, knowing the truth or thinking about asking a question that they're not allowed to. You got the guest in studio. I have this list. I must ask this. I must do this. I must go to commercial. I must come back.
Yeah.
Not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because there are still people on the radio who provide a super amount of comfort and companionship and escape and escapism. You can watch Fox or 60 Minutes or anything like that and get yourself all worked up about it. That's easy to do. But the true artist,
spend the night with George Norrie or John Wells.
Sure, but the true job of the radio person who is still employed in not public broadcasting, but in regular radio, has a real tough job to do.
Yeah,
they really do, to engage the listener in something other than, the narrative. I don't even touch it when I'm on. Yeah. When I'm on the air,
retract all and broad, but a vast majority who are those who are, and they're parroting. They are not critical thinkers. They could be in their private life, but they're not allowed to be on air.
That's true. You're not allowed to say it. And that's really sad, because if you think about this, the amount of experience in broadcast on the radio and television, not on podcasting, that all of us have, let's add it up.
Yeah. I know.
34 years for me.
34 for you. It's almost 40 for me. How about you, Joe?
Let's see. I think my first radio job was in, let me think now. It was in 86.
Okay.
Yeah, 86.
Well, then that's about 30, whatever.
Yeah,
years.
35
years. But I started getting paid when I was a teenager for this job.
So. Oh, wow. So, okay. Well, what's interesting is what we're talking about is...
I'm that old. Oh, my God. I'm admitting things. What is it?
Hey, Jackie, I don't mean to... Yeah, do we have time? We're now kind of getting into telling secrets, and I don't want the meeting to just shut us off in the middle of a secret.
No, it's not going to shut us off.
Okay. It's interesting, the things that we cannot talk about is not necessarily something that somebody told us. I think I told you guys this story once before. A guy goes to the gym that has been in Denver television since the 70s. And he did sports, and then he did news. But anyway, he's been around forever. Anyway, he goes to my gym. And he was the only one that I've ever seen commercial television do a story on chemtrails. And I went up to him in the gym. I says, you know what? I said, you are the only one I've ever seen commercial television, do a story on chemtrails. And he says, you know what? That's just something we're not allowed to talk about. And I can guarantee you, the news director didn't come to him and say, you're not allowed to talk about that. It's just that you know. You know what I'm saying? It's like somehow it's programmed into us what we can talk about and what we can't talk about. And nobody necessarily came to us and said that. You know, it's part of the program.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting. It's like you just kind of know what you can't say, even though nobody told you not to say it.
Oh, by now. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, by now. I mean, we're not stupid. We still want to get paid. Those who still want to get paid don't want to say anything to get them in trouble. So yeah, we have our own filter. It's programming.
Exactly. That's right. And that's why they call it programming.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just read the medium is the massage, or The Message by Marshall McLuhan, you know, who wrote that in 1963. I mean, it's the best book ever.
My lawyer loves him.
Yeah. Great philosopher.
One of my lawyers, but it brings up Marshall McLuhan and he will recite a quote of his from that specific book. And he said it was a tremendous influence on him as a hippie in the 60s,
mm-hmm.
but that book is incredibly profound for him in the world of courtroom
mm-hmm.
theater
mm-hmm.
and the legal applications of justice and the use of words and et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So what may for a broadcaster mean, Marshall McLuhan may mean versus what, you know, and he's not a media industry lawyer. He's just a numbers lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
He's a corporate lawyer, and in that world, that's a very tight box to be in. And he sits out over here as the consultant. Bring him in. Yep, why? Because we need him. Why? Because you nuts don't know what's going on, and they
mm-hmm.
will bring him in. And for those types of cases where that mentality is, or what he learned out of that is mentality. And then a follow-up, Jackie, you were talking about your brother when it was the Vietnam War. Well, you both know Nightclub Dad.
Yeah. I do.
He, for a time, did what Jackie said. And then because of New York and proximity, went to Canada. But he lucked out, and that his number, and I forget how that worked, if it was the lower or the higher, whatever the number was, your draft number.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, right.
And he missed it by that much.
Mm-hmm.
And that was how he was. Otherwise, he would have gone to Vietnam. He would certainly not have gone and, you know, been a roadie at Woodstock and, you know, the Summer of Love and Haight-Ashbury and all that. That would have never happened. But Jackie, when you were talking about, yeah, because you'll show up at the doctor then. You're anemic.
Yeah.
You have low blood pressure. You should be dehydrated, malnutrition,
mm-hmm.
which will then, whatever blood tests they did back then, oh, you're off the charts wrong. You're not in the spectrum,
No.
so to speak, of whatever it was. And so you would get back then a medical deferment.
Yeah, and it was a
Nightclub Dad wasn't in college, so he wasn't getting an academic one. And he had already had in play that if he doesn't, I dodged the number. Otherwise, he would have been gone. He would have fled to Canada. You know, back then, being a conscientious objector, we never asked. Next time I'll ask him if he still has his draft card or if he did, in fact, burn it. Because he was a true rebel and a hippie. Love beads and the whole 9 yards. Even still, back at that nightclub we all were in his office on the wall were his love beads is the 60s.
Funny.
Swear to God. But yeah, Jackie, I forgot about that one. He was telling, oh yeah, he was stressed that summer, but that there was a diet they did to try and get out of the medical.
Awesome.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'd heard of that. I had a relative, distant
and it
relative.
Wasn't a diet. It wasn't. You don't want to do that to your body, but that's what they were doing deliberately to
I know, but I want to tell you something. I had a distant cousin, nobody that I keep in touch with, that actually took his wife's birth control pills. So he screwed up his system so bad he wouldn't be accepted.
He started growing boobs.
Yeah.
Well, so that would drop your testosterone and raise your estrogen? What else would it do?
I'm not sure what it would do. I don't think I want to find out, though. But anyway,
that is awesome.
That's pretty creative.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so can we shift back to China? I want to mention, because we were talking about China.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that nobody talks about this, but I got it on my Weird Science news feed. China has a rover on the moon since 2019.
Yep.
And the thing is going around and sending back stuff from the backside. Why don't they don't call it the dark side anymore, may I tell you? They don't say the dark side of the moon. They say either the other side or the backside.
Well, the far side has been used quite a bit lately, but yeah, they don't say the dark side anymore. And yes,
it's sending back data. Why can't we see the data?
We're not allowed. China has the data. Israel also sent a rover to the moon with the European Space Agency assistance. So China is on the moon. The United States is on the moon. The Soviet Union has been on the moon. They don't claim that they are currently there. And the U.S. will not disclose what we have on the moon.
I just find that fascinating. How come you don't talk about that? That's not on the nightly news every night, or at least once in a while, instead of that stupid COVID message.
Exactly. Well, it's the repetitive nature of that. Yep. They don't want you thinking about those things. Yeah, just what they're talking about.
I mean, that's just straight up crazy. And the other fun science, spacey news, UFO-y thing that I like is that when the International Space Station is done, they're going to crash it into that place in the ocean that there's no way to detect what's really in there.
Right.
It's the farthest point from any landmass in the ocean.
Yeah. Not a coincidence.
Is that off the Indian Ocean?
It's down. It's way down there in the Pacific Ocean, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
off
so.
The Indian Ocean between that and Antarctica.
It's exactly. And they say there's already space junk down there. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
There's already space stuff they sunk down there. So what do you think you don't think they could land it and then take it apart and recycle it? Oh, honey, no. It's got to be buried in the deepest part of the undetectable ocean.
Exactly.
Now, why is that?
I know.
Because maybe it's not what they say it is, or maybe it's a lot more.
Exactly. I think that we've paid for it. Why don't they put it on display so we can go look at it?
Do either of you prescribe to the theory of the underwater simulations and the use of the vomit comet?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Well, there's stuff under there, honey.
Yeah.
No, I mean, for what we see as the ISS, there is
it's an underwater training center that they actually report live feeds from that are actually underwater, because you can see bubbles. If you slow down the videotape, you can see bubbles coming out. Yeah. And
or still use of the vomit comet. But the hair, the hair flying in the studio, that is not what goes on in space.
I know, right.
It's just...
It's sticking straight up. In other words, when she leans this way, it doesn't move. It goes to the same...
No, that's
right.
Yeah, it
and
points in the same direction no matter where she goes.
Do a somersault while on the wires like Cirque du Soleil, and the hair doesn't move.
I know.
That's called Aquanet.
Yeah,
they still make it for space only.
Yeah.
They do not.
Well, what else could do that to your hair? Think about how we used to in the 80s.
I remember that.
Mohawks, man. We had a guy with mohawks.
I don't even think they really make that stuff.
Oh, it's only for
Forget about asbestos. That stuff was toxic.
I think I still have it in my ears. Dude, that's before we knew. Okay, here is a lot we don't know about the International Space Station. What a great article.
Were you a big hair girl, Jackie?
Oh, Jesus.
Really?
Do I have to show pictures on this broadcast?
Nope. You made my comment about, my hair short, but in military school, I had, as long a hair as I could have without getting demerits. And in the 80s, I had that little Duran Duran poof on the top. But Oh yeah, okay.
Big hair.
I've never thought of you as, but we always joked about flock of hairdos, our love for the mutual band.
Oh,
Never
Yeah.
occurred to me that you had one of those.
oh, it's so bad. I would post pictures, of me and my nieces or whatever from the 80s, because they were little babies, in the 80s. And their friends just would call me and message me and go, "Was that really your hair? Is that real? Or did you Photoshop your hair in there?" I go, "That was my real hair. Of course." They just couldn't accept that we wore our hair in that mullet thing, and then oh geez, I'll bring some pictures to the show and tell session next time.
I love it. Absolutely.
Okay, it's
Absolutely.
called the Space Cemetery,
Okay. Write that
where
down.
they're going to sink this thing.
Yeah, Space Cemetery. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And they're
okay.
already starting. It's supposed to be 2031 that it goes into the ocean there and sinks, but they're already decommissioning it, as you know, piece by piece.
Correct.
And the stuff that they're going to replace it with is not owned by NASA. Of course, it's private industry.
International consortium.
Yep. And so they're paying whoever else wants to build the stuff, and then we'll just contract with you. Doesn't have to be safe. Doesn't have to be accurate. None of that. There's no oversight. There won't be oversight. Not that there was any anyways.
Yeah, I don't think NASA has ever been accountable to anybody for anything. How they spend the money, how much money they make, we don't know. We know they make billions.
It's all hidden.
How can they
Of
be
course.
accountable when they lost
The telemetry, from
suits?
I know, from all the Apollo, they're all gone. All the telemetry data, it's all gone. All the original feeds, original videotape. No, can't find it.
Bull crap, right?
I know.
Okay, here it is.
And what's
Oh, sorry, I found it.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's
No,
going to
go
sink
ahead.
into. It's called Point Nemo in the Pacific Ocean.
okay?
Point Nemo.
Mm.
It's so far from land that scientists refer to it as the Space Cemetery. Isolated on a stretch of ocean that's an ideal location for a spacecraft to crash without causing any potential harm to humans.
Oh, good. We're
Mhm.
keeping the children safe at all costs.
As we know, Nemo is Latin for no one.
Mhm. Oh, I did not know that. Interesting.
I did
know,
not.
it's-
You said as we know. I didn't know that either. And Nemo is what for
Latin
Latin?
for no one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
They like to
Yeah.
hide things in Latin.
Yes,
Okay.
and then in fact, it's the furthest point from any landmass on Earth.
Mm.
Now, what?
Not a
that?
coincidence. Uh-huh.
Is that by chance where they happened to discover where the Malaysian Airlines disappeared?
Hey, did that thing ever get found? It didn't, did it?
They
I don't-
claim they may have found it recently.
Yeah, I don't think it's official though. I don't think they officially ever found it.
They have
There are
not said no.
rumors. Yeah, I think so. Right. Oh my God, what a world we live in. I tell you what.
It says it's a nutrient-poor water bed,
Mm.
and the lack of biological diversity is one of the reasons Point Nemo is used as a galactic dumping ground.
Galactic
Whatever.
dumping ground. What, Steady Alpha 4 decides to drop off some waste? How arrogant a comment. It's the galactic dumping ground. Well,
This-
you take your galactic attitude and get out of here. I'm going to slap you.
The ISS has decades of experimental equipment, materials, and even traces of altered human DNA aboard.
Of course.
That's
Why?
not surprising. Not surprising at all.
But we can't prove that assertion because we can't get to it.
Right.
Well, we're
Right.
sorry, yes.
They're burying it in Point Nemo. I mean, this is creepy, isn't
I
it?
know. Right. Yeah. It's so in your face what they're doing, you know?
It's just shocking, huh?
I know. Oh my gosh.
That was one of my best articles of the whole week. I was like, that is too much.
Should we change the name of our show to the Galactic Dumping Ground? Maybe we can make some money that way.
Hey, I like that.
The Galactic Dumping. Who in there? With somebody in a room, they had people in that room. It wasn't just one guy jerking off. There were people in that room. And they agreed that we're going to call it that. And they don't allow people like me in the room to go, hey, you know, this is the Earth in one solar system of the Milky Way galaxy, you idiots. This is the Indian Ocean or the Antarctic Ocean or the deep sea. This is the galactic nothing, and you're idiots. And if this were the Three Stooges, you'd all get pokes in the eyes.
That is such a fib that it has stuff on it that just needs to be buried. Shouldn't we be concerned about what's up there? What are they doing up there?
I know. Right. Yeah.
Tell that to the people around Yucca Mountain.
Oh, my, that's what happened to the Atlanteans. They were doing these DNA conflagration combination things, and that's why they had to get
But Jackie, you're suggesting extraterrestrial DNA. Joe, the last time we talked about this, chimeras.
Yeah. That's human and animal DNA
That's
mixed
just
together.
human, or is that possibly?
Oh, they're doing it.
They're doing all kinds of.
Yeah, for humans, but that doesn't involve alien stuff, does it?
Not necessarily. No, I'm saying it's probably animal and human combinations.
Yeah.
And they see if they can survive in space or not. You know, they'll make the half.
Okay.
You know, whatever. Oh, I can't even think about it.
I know.
Well, why not just flush them out the toilet while they're in space and let them float away?
It's so horrifying, isn't it? It's so bad.
Yeah, we talked to Cynthia Schneider, who was like we had talked about her before. Her husband was the guy, the geologist, was involved in blasting through the bedrock to build the tunnels. And those underground military bases, she talked in length about that, chimeras and splicing between human and animal DNA, and they would keep them in rows of cages, and they had rows and rows of these animals. Oh yeah, and they've been doing this for a long
it's different
time.
to do it at Jekyll Island versus allegedly on the ISS or further out, because you could expose it to radiation and other things that you wouldn't necessarily get. Not Jekyll Island. Where is the island that allegedly the Montauk Island?
Montauk, yeah.
Lab at Montauk.
Yeah, they've been doing this a long time, all over the place. And the interesting thing is, the first time I heard about this was in 1981. I worked at a TV station in San Angelo, Texas, and a lady from the Red Cross, and she knew that I was interested in this stuff, and I would talk about this stuff, and she had seen the same thing. She was in an underground military base back in Virginia. She told me the same thing, and she thought that it was a result of humans having sex with animals, and that's what she was seeing. We know that's not possible. They have to splice your DNA. You can't just have sex with an animal. And she had said the exact same thing. So we've seen people that don't know each other from different walks of life that always involve the military, and usually lifetime military that would talk about this, seeing this kind of stuff. So yeah, they've been doing this for a long time.
It's just so sickening. It's gonna, George Van Tassel. It's not just him, but Edgar Casey. Lots of different, people have chimed in over the last couple of centuries about, or even Plato talks about the pole shift.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just a coming down from space, to write things, but that might be what makes the pole shift. It has to be an impact to make the Earth go. I don't know. We'll see.
That's interesting.
But that's the punishment of the Atlanteans, is they got sunk on the pole shift. Yeah.
And it also goes back to Genesis 6 about the flood. That's why the flood was created, and back in the day too, is because of this intermixing of humans. Absolutely.
Oh, same thing. Same. Yeah, Edgar Casey talked about. I mean, the Bible does have factual things in it. It's just that it got fouled up along the way.
Mm-hmm. And the Book of Enoch talks about a lot of that stuff as well.
So juicy.
You know what, guys? I think we're going to have to cut this because
all right.
I was thinking the same. It looks
when I upload it to YouTube, if it goes too long, it won't let me upload it. And that's happened to us before. So if it goes much over, they won't let me upload it. So, but this is great.
On
this
YouTube,
was a great show.
Great show. On YouTube, it's conspiracykeepers.com. What's the other site, Joe?
theconspiracyzone.net. And we've got them all linked up together. So yeah, you can go to either of those places, and we have so many shows. Oh, it's so awesome. We've got so much good stuff.
And then you can hear our friend Scooter McGee. Let's see, your handles on Podbean is just Scooter McGee.
Let me see if you can computer check since you went.
I have it right here.
I get this right. My photograph is on Facebook. Mm-hmm. That photograph should be now linked up to every one of my accounts, meaning I'm the Scooter McGee on Twitter, Scooter McGee on Facebook, Scooter McGee on Patreon. Jackie, am I showing up yet as just Scooter McGee on YouTube? Or is...
Yes. And
Okay.
also
And is
on
it the current
Podbean.
picture,
Yeah.
CBA picture?
Yeah, it's the one with you holding a CBA.
Yep. Then that's okay. So I am now just Scooter McGee.
Yeah. Here, let me
Okay.
grab it. I was just listening to your cast from last night.
And
Anyway,
yes,
so that's where to find
1
him,
a.m.
and then
Eastern.
Yeah.
1 a.m. Eastern
Okay.
now till Putin decides to stand down. It was originally going to be 30 minutes of news Monday through Friday, but then my out of the box, still remembering when, the peaceful protesters at the Iranian embassy suddenly decided to receive some extra guests. And that's where Ted Koppel and Nightline came from. So if we're going to attempt to actually do real news, and I don't mean deliver real news. Hey, these are data points. These are headlines. I don't believe them, and we shouldn't believe anything right now because both sides are claiming something different, but we need to share data points. And that's now what's got the internet, or the powers that be controlling the internet, so upset, because we all have a phone. And my source, I had two sources, one in the State Department who was ordered out, but the other was a citizen journalist, a resident of outside in Ukraine.
Oh.
Well, they then had to flee, and I found out late last night, early this morning, they finally got out of the Ukraine, and they are now in Poland. And it was having what they were describing to me was just so. Now, hopefully, I doubt tonight, I hope by using Podbean with YouTube Live, along with people watching, we're going to get to talk to them.
Okay, great. So that's 1 a.m. Eastern time.
Correct.
11 p.m. Mountain time. 10 p.m. I don't even talk about Central. Pacific time,
No,
it's 10 p.m.
Pacific time.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Scooter McGee. Just do a search for Scooter. And then Joe, see you next time.
Okay, great, guys.
Yeah,
Great.
We're still on for next week unless the
Yes.
world really goes sideways by Sunday.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
We can go anytime.
All right, guys.
Okay. Thank you very
Always
much.
great. Okay.
Always great.
Be safe, everybody. See you soon.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.